Got my coffee and today's guest here with me, so we're ready to roll. Welcome to the Circular Coffee Break podcast, where we will be casually talking about everything circular and beyond. We hope the podcast is interesting, insightful, and provides you with new perspectives. But as always, if you have feedback, improvement ideas, suggestions, please leave us a comment or drop us a note. And there's actually something new compared to earlier episodes. We now have a different email address that you can contact. It's circularcoffeebreak@gmail.com. And you can also have a look at our new webpage, circularcoffeebreak.com. Now, my guest today is an internationally recognized strategic and circular design expert working at the intersection of circular economy, systems, foresight, and design. In his daily work, he helps teams, products, and companies to become more resilient by applying circular design principles in making long-term sustainable choices about their futures and businesses. His 28 years of extensive international experience in consumer electronics and strategic design give him a unique insight to build design capabilities, managing complex businesses, driving innovation, and developing products and services, which answer to the growing global demand for more sustainable products. And that will be something we will be talking about in today's episode at length. Besides his work as a design consultant at Taiwan and Fraunhofer ICM, he is the founder of TJ Design, a creative consulting firm that fuses strategic innovation and design with sustainability business practices. He was head of the design portfolio and strategy at Microsoft and Nokia, where he was the initial designer behind the iconic Nokia 3310 or 3310, which many of you are, I'm sure, familiar with. Tapani is one of the authors of the Eco-Design Learning Factory program, as part of which he teaches and conducts training, modules, innovation workshops, and lectures on circular design in seminars and conferences. He lives and works in Helsinki and Berlin. Welcome to the show, Tapani Jokinen.
Thanks, Michael, and inviting me on this coffee podcast and the opportunity to discuss circular design and importance in driving a circular economy.
I'm really happy to have you here. We've been working together for quite some time, and I had the opportunity to learn a lot from you about circular design, sustainable design, and the work you've been doing with Fraunhofer and with many other organizations. Now, circular design or sustainable design are terms that might not be familiar to all listeners out there. To kick things off, could you briefly explain the terminology and why considering circular aspects during the design phase is so critical in our transition towards the circular economy?
Indeed, like a circular design term says, that it's about designing a circularity around the product by looking entire system, a product, a service, and a system. 80% of product footprint, its environment and its environmental impact is determined in the design stage. And for that reason, circular design expertise play a key role in developing products and systems in line with the circular economy. The initial stage of design research is critical in order to understand what requirements the product must meet from perspective of environment, user, and business. So we always have to define the problem, the challenge, what we want to solve on here. Mm-hmm. And in a nutshell, what we were writing in 2017 in Fraunhofer, circular design is a chance to promote social and ecological innovation. Eco-designing a product or service means to make it desirable for people, minimizing environmental impact and maximizing its use and business impact along the life cycle by designing a circular system around it and keep resources continuously reused. That is the essential for circular design.
Perfect, thank you. And one thing you said, I think is very important. You said 80% of a product's impact is basically determined during the design phase. And if you think about it, it's logical, because you decide what materials you're using, what designs you're using, what components you're using in that context. How do you feel circular design has developed in that context? How do you approach product design to ensure that materials and resources are kept in use for longer, are basically complying with the circular economy principle? Because for many organizations, that's not what they do today. Today, it's a very different approach. So how do you approach that? What are your takeaways from all the different projects you've been doing?
Yeah, it's a good question. We must comprehensively manage and design the entire life cycle of the products. And designing that circular system that I mentioned, where the products and solutions maintain their value through multiple use purposes, maintaining the components and materials through refinement, and enabling materials to cycle endlessly in technical and biological loops in society. And for that reason, we have developed the circular design frame to seize these circular design opportunities that helps companies to adapt and deliver sustainable design strategies, and facilitating collaboration to identifying concrete action and ideas to promote this profitability while impacting the planet in a positive way.
Cool. No, absolutely. And in that context, we've been doing a couple of projects in the circular design space together. Now, if you take the definition you gave, and if you take what you just said about the approach, where do you think in the organization should this circular design sit? Who is the right person to look at this?
Everyone in that company. So it requires collaboration between the units, departments, expertise, and that is basically the key for it. And it's not even enough inside the company. We have to change our view from the organization-centric to system-centric, ecosystem-centric more and more.
And I guess one thing is also, it goes beyond organizations. Yes. So if you mentioned circularity of materials, and you cannot realize that within the boundaries of one company. If you provide raw materials, if you provide a product, very often that goes across value chains, across supply chains, across organizations. How do you see that also in the context of some of the EU legislation, like the digital passport for textile and electronics and all of that? How do you feel we are doing in that area, but also where do you see could be leverage points?
Yeah, we also have to take care of the value chains that, as you said, it's also outside the organization, because we can't handle everything inside the company. It means that we have to collaborate with recycle companies, how to enhance the take-back systems, how to get all the materials also back, and challenging our actors, our stakeholders around us to help us to achieve our goals and aspirations to become more sustainable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And you've been working now for some time as an advisor for companies and startups. Can you share some successful examples of how circular design projects or products that have made a significant impact on sustainability, or where you see that organizations have been very successful in adopting these circular design principles also to create value, not only for the company, but also for the broader society?
One of the best recent example is the OpenFunk, a Berlin-based startup where we are developing a remix kitchen blender. Mm-hmm. And we all started on question that why can electronics be sustainable? So we are using fully recyclable materials, and it's fully repairable, upgradable, and modularity gives so much flexibility to actually build it. And the main idea of that blender is basically that we are reusing your existing yards in a home, that it's all based on standard yards that you could use on that, which reduce the need of cleaning all the time the blender and all that. So it's one of the good example how we could actually do it, and really addressing this sustainability challenges in a business and also in a product.
Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned at the top of the show the Nokia 3310.
Yeah.
And I remember back in the days I could replace the battery myself. I could still do things in repairing. I could bring it to a repair shop and it could be repaired. Nowadays, I think with some of the phones, I learned you need to break the glass in order to get to the battery. So you need to break more and do more harm, so to say, in order to repair. So how do we make sure this modularity idea, this idea of making things repairable, is something that's taken serious by companies?
Well, there is a new requirements are saying that the companies have to act like that. Repairability index, extended responsibility things. Companies have to offer spare parts for the product to extend the lifetime of it. So it's not anymore as a voluntary, which I hate also at the same time, that we should award rather than punish companies, but that is how it goes at the moment. But actually, we are coming back more and more on 80s, where all the products were repairable. Yeah. They didn't use glue; they were screwed together. They were spare parts, and so on. So we are looking backwards at the moment how we should actually design our new devices.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think there's a lot to learn from the old days when your electronic devices, your cars or anything else could still be repaired even by yourself. I mean, I remember still the years where you would take an electronic device and you would basically start opening it up and try to fix stuff. Naturally, unplug it first, be safe. But we have unlearned that, and we need to relearn that.
Even changing the light bulb in your car, it's not allowed.
Yes, yeah, and I mean, if I look at the new electronic cars, e-cars, it's really difficult to fix something yourself in those, not like in the old days. Now, from your experience, how can circular design principles be applied in various industries? Because I think it's very different depending on what industry you're in, how you're looking at circularity, what are the leverage points that you have, what are the considerations. I mean, take the fashion industry, very different from the example you mentioned, the electronics industry. There's a lot of other industries, heavy machinery, that have very different customer requirements, market situations, and so on and so forth. So how do you apply circular design principles in these very varying environments and contextual industries?
I think that the circular design methods and practices are applicable for all the industries. Circular design principles combine design thinking and life cycle thinking, and it's apply with all the products and also with the services. So I don't see different barriers between the different industries in there, and every single company is directly depend on nature, requiring a business to rethink the way value is created, adapt their business models and integrate sustainability on their products and services. I think that we really have to embrace those principles in every level, and as I said, across the organization, across the expertise, across the companies to succeed on this mission.
Yeah, I think you're making a very important point there, and I think that's something I've been seeing over the past years, that sustainability, circularity is very often the responsibility of one department, of one person in the organization. But then again, these requirements are so broad in the organization, you cannot fix it by having one person responsible for sustainability that doesn't even have a mandate to go discuss with the rest of the organization. So you really need to bring the different stakeholders together into the design workshop. So how are you doing that in the projects you're doing? How do you bring the different stakeholders together and, I guess, enable them to speak the same language, which isn't always given even within the same organization?
I think that that is the essence of design, that design is always the team sport, that you need right expertise and stakeholders around you to succeed on your mission. So it's inbuilt already that collaboration, co-creation, and I think that the design is really good method and tool, a sandbox to bring people together and giving the challenge for them and solving those together, which is also help them to, in a further future projects, that they know each other better and they start to work more with each others. And I think that is the key, learning together, learning by doing, also super important, and bring the expertise, external expertise to speed up this transition, also that who have experience and knowing what is needed, that you don't have to bring everything inside your own organization, that it's as I said, collaboration, building the ecosystems around your company and what you are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember a workshop we did together, I think it's now a couple of years back already, time flies, where we basically gave participants household products and basically said, so look at these through circular design eyes, principles. And I think we had a coffee machine, we had a rubber boot and all of that. And I think what's interesting is once you change your perspective, once you look at these items not from an efficiency point of view, not purely from an aesthetic or functional point of view, but also through the circular lens, and add that to the perspective, you all of a sudden see small things, bigger things that you can do differently, where you can approach things modularly and so on. So I think that's really back to your point. It's bringing everyone together, looking through different lenses and enabling them with the methodologies you mentioned.
Exactly, and I think that the people who are working on new product development and all that, they are so focused on their own areas that hardly any of them have never teared down their product, for example. That was also one way that we were using with ABB, but we really put them to benchmark competitors and also their own products and tear down that and getting the insights and findings. One product, for example, the first question on the team was that why we have 8 springs in this product. Because we have always had that. But of course you could design that smarter way to reduce the components and parts on there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's partially circularity naturally has different aspects. There's also the economic aspect. Raw materials becoming more expensive, more scarce. So it has an environmental impact. It has an economic impact. There's all of these different dimensions that play into that. So how from your experience, what are some of the main challenges faced by designers and businesses when transitioning towards circular design principles, and how can they be overcome? So if our listeners say like, oh, circular design sounds like something we should do in our organization, be it for products, be it for services, what are some of the things they should keep in mind, they should be aware of?
Yeah, circular economy, it's fundamentally changed operating models and structures, how we do business and develop new products. So we are actually talking about systemic change in here. And wicked problems require radical collaboration across, as I said, different disciplines, departments and organization. And we have to break those silos to enable extensive collaboration with different stakeholders, and as I said, even competitors, building ecosystem to find new sustainable solution to accelerate transition to sustainable development from which everyone benefits in the long term.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, at the same time, you still have very much silo thinking in organizations. And if the R&D team, if the product design, product development team comes over and says, hey, Mr. Supply Chain, hey, Mr. Procurement, hey, Mr. Sales and Marketing, or hey, Mr. Maintenance, I want to sit down with you and talk about our product. They might basically say, yeah, you design the products, we deliver. Let's keep the split. Now, as this emphasizes so much the collaboration, the working across borders, this new business and operating model that you mentioned, in your experience, how can designers overcome that and build that common platform for different stakeholders to collaborate in implementing circular design principles and circularity into their products and services?
As I said, I think that it's overall to deliver a mutual challenge on different groups and starting to solve those together. And I think that everybody have motivation on that type of work. That if you are just focusing on supply chains, sourcing and those kind of things, and when you talk with people, they all wanted to have also their fingerprints and their impact on new products. And when you bring those people on early stage, developing the new or improving the existing product, I think that it's really makes that offer so desirable to work together, rather than asking a favor or asking a task to fill. It's more about learning on each other principles and solving those problems together.
Yeah. No, makes sense. Now, there's a very wide group of stakeholders you have. How do you see the role of the company leadership, of the regulator? We talked about already, regulation is a major part of customers and so on in basically making that happen. What's our role as customers of these companies in driving this topic?
Yeah, you have to involve them all. Also bringing the customer voice in product development, that sometimes we even invite some users, customers on workshops that they could actually tell what really bother them, what they need, how they really see the product and the company overall. I think that it's really essential to involve those different stakeholders on early stage already. Then you usually succeed better.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, given your long experience in sustainable and circular design, let's put the crystal ball on the table. How do you see the future of the circular economy, and what steps do you think are crucial, are critical to achieve a more circular world through the perspective you're coming from?
Yeah, good question. Well, sustainable products will be a new norm in EU, and they are already. That you have to fulfill all those new requirements what are given and fulfill the legal issues in there. I think that in the future products and services will design, made and use fundamentally different ways, that products are made more durable, reliable, reusable, upgradable, repairable, and easier to maintain, refurbish, recycle, and also we have to look at also more energy and resource efficient solution. And that happens already, but as I said, it's a systemic change that you, rather than focus on product itself, you have to look at the system and the full impact on there, how you could actually reduce negative impact in the long term, and also how to create a close relationship with the customers also, and then you have to develop also certain type of services that engage them to your products and your brand much closer than today.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I think going forward it will be more about the footprint and handprint of products than it was in the past. So what good can you do? How can you avoid harm? And that will also be reflected in the customer choices. Now, the coffee is empty. In closing, for the listeners, before we wrap up, if anyone is interested in adopting circular design principles in their personal or professional life, or they want to learn more about circular design and how to apply it, what advice or resources would you recommend someone to start on the topic?
Yeah, we have developed lots of open source collection of design principles and methods, and you could find those in the web. One good source of that is circular design tools that you could find in ecodesignTools.org. Other is that we developed with SWID, the Swedish Design Association Sustainability Guide EU. And of course, I always recommend also to visit on Ellen MacArthur's Foundation webpage. They have a great collection of different type of tools and assessment tools and so on to help you to speed up. And maybe not even speed up. I think that the main point is actually how to get started, to find a way in a low-hanging way of starting working towards sustainability.
Absolutely, I fully agree. And for all of you out there listening, we will add the links into the podcast notes so you can refer later to those for further reading. Now, as I said, the coffee is empty and it's time to wrap up this episode of the Circular Coffee Break. Thanks a lot, Tapani, for joining me today and for the great discussion.
Thanks, Michael. This was a pleasure.
Perfect. I hope everyone listening today, you liked the episode and you got some new inspiration and ideas. As mentioned, we will share the links that Tapani mentioned. As mentioned before, if you have comments, ideas, suggestions for future episodes or something you especially liked or disliked in this or the previous episodes, please leave a comment on your favorite podcasting platform or send us a note at circularcoffeebreak@gmail.com. We're always looking for your feedback and your ideas. Also, please remember to subscribe to stay in the loop on new episodes. New episodes will drop every 2 weeks, and there's already a lot of additional guests that we have lined up for future episodes. So there's definitely a good reason to stay tuned on various aspects and perspectives on circular economy. Now, the only thing left is to say thanks for listening, for And we hope you will join us for a future episode of the Circular Coffee Break.